Hello everybody and welcome to another Nolan Business Solutions webinar. David here, and today we're going to follow on from our previous webinar, Education Relationship Management for Dynamics CRM, to focus further onto some of the new features that are available. A key feature is the fact that ERM 2016 is now fully enabled as a part of Microsoft Dynamics 365. As such, it can be run on-premise or online. We're only going to be covering a small number of elements of the entire solution today. So if you are interested in further detail on ERM 2016, you can find an earlier Nolan webinar here. It was published on the 17th of November last year, 2016. The focus for today, we're going to look at a few elements of the core solution, so the menus, form layouts, member funding and education history. I'm then going to have a bit of a look at reporting and Excel integration and some of the new things that you can do. And finally, we'll wind up and just give a little bit of thought to GDPR, which is looming on the horizon and something that is likely to become of fairly considerable importance once it actually gets passed through legislation. So without further ado, I'm going to skip out of PowerPoint and pop across to the actual system itself. So this is Microsoft Dynamics CRM. For those of you who have not seen it before, you've got your standard, you've got your main menu bar across the top here, search functionality, query functionality, and your menu options coming down here. We'll look into that in a minute or two. I've chosen to have students as my home page. So here I've got a list of active students. It's actually, I'm looking at members, so you can see, I can see academics or alumni and various other specific views there. I can have as many of these as I want, and subject to security, individuals can create their own personal views as and when required. Looking at the list here too, I've got the charts on the right hand side. Again, I will pick the students by type, and that will give me a breakdown across postgraduate, research, taught and undergraduate. I can drill into the undergraduates. So you'll now see they've automatically been given a filter on here. I can select a further field, so let's say we'll go down on gender, and I'll do that. That's going to come back and give me the split between male and female, and if I click on male, I can go down further to year of study and break it down as a pie graph again. So I can see that I've got year of study 2, I've got 16 people in there, and if I click on that, then I'm down here. So very easy to undertake ad hoc queries using graphical interface, which of course some people find considerably easier than actually attempting to navigate through either a query or a menu system. So what we're going to do, we'll start off by popping into Daniel Andrews. Now Daniel Andrews, as we've just seen, is a male undergraduate in his second year. We do have a variety of forms, and we'll come across some of them later on. I'm using a sort of simplified student form where you've got your key information here on the left hand side. I do have more information for if I scroll down. But the idea is to give a sort of one form view of the critical information here. In the middle I have the social activity pane. So at the moment I'm looking at the activities, so I can see that Daniel's got a a status review scheduled in October. I can look at the posts, which will give me the actions that have been undertaken by users to these records. And I can see the notes that are in here, which of course, as you can imagine, I can drill into and see the content thereof. So you can have an unlimited amount of notes, you can have an unlimited amount of attachments, and if you're using SharePoint, then of course you can use the standard out-of-the-box CRM connectors to hold all this information within SharePoint. Now, on the right, we've got a couple of subgrids. Again, there's no limit to the number of subgrids. I've just got 2 on this form. Firstly, we've got the courses. And if we scroll across here, if I go in here to the courses, you can see that the top one is active since Michaelmas term 2016. But in fact, Daniel started in 15 on one course. And if I drill into this one, we can see here that we've got his record from Michaelmas 16. He's enrolled as full-time, and in fact, he was previously doing a BA on English and modern languages, but he didn't complete it and transferred over to another program. Going back into Daniel's record, down here we can see the connections. So we can see that Laura Goodbody is his organising tutor. And if I drill into Laura's record, you'll see that Laura is in fact, when the drill down works, we can see here that Laura is actually the tutor to 10 different students. We'll come back to that in a little bit when we come to look at extracting information from Excel. Now, the forms that we're looking at here, if I go back to Daniel, and I'm not sure what's going wrong there, so I shall take the shortcut link of recently viewed records, go back to Daniel. Now, this is, I say, is one form. If I go to, for instance, and have a look at the Porter's Lodge form, and we'll see that I've got, it's a completely different format for a start. It's got much less information. Now this particular form does allow the users to update a variety of different things. But you will see down here that all the actual reference material and everything is all read-only. So equally important as excuse me, providing facility to update information, we can disseminate the information in a read-only manner as appropriate. So if we now go and have a look at a postgraduate student, we'll take Georgina Best. We'll go back to the student form. The forms that you can see are determined by the roles that you are granted permission to within the system. Obviously, I'm systems administrator here, so I can see all the forms. Typically, one aims to have a situation where users essentially log in and get to see the form that they should see in order that the information that they require is available without any additional information that they don't necessarily need to know about. Now, if I drill into Georgina's course record, here you can see that actually she hasn't even started yet. So she's not going to start until after Christmas, but she's already been accepted, and so is now classified as provisionally enrolled. And the advantage of having this information here available for her today means that before she actually arrives, A, fees can be produced. B, if she's looking to have any accommodation within the college or whatever, that can all be sorted out beforehand. And her record's then available for any department that requires it, centrally held within the system. So going back into Georgina's record, we can see here that George Hagel is her college advisor. And if I drill into George's record, you can see that in fact he is the college advisor to 14 students. So that will have pertinence now in a minute that we will go back to. Going back to Georgina, and I don't know why that link is not working. Coming back here into Georgina, along the menu bar here, so while we've got the main menu options here, we've got the different options underneath members. So we've got students academics, we've got various analysis things, we've got committees, research centers, dining rights. Underneath the students menu, you've got the sub-menu of recently viewed records, so you can stop and skip if you're working on, a couple of different key ones. And underneath the actual record that you're looking, we can go and see the information that is available via this form for Georgina. So what we have here is general information here, but also member funding. So obviously as a postgraduate student, member funding is quite important to be able to track. You can see here that Georgina is going to pay her own college deposit. She's got the college funding is being paid through 100% through the college itself, and the university fees are actually a specific amount of £1,500. Now, if I go to look and create a new funding record, you can see that the various breakdown that can be held is either college fees or university fees, maintenance details, college deposit hall charge, office charge, fee research or others. So all aspects of how the student is funding himself can be held as required. So you have a full breakdown in terms of how they will meet their total fee liability for the extent of their course. Going back again now to Georgina. The second thing that has been enhanced in ERM 2016 is the ability to track full education history. So again, the ability for colleges to be able to identify and monitor achievement based upon the background of the student and the educational history that they have running through. Here you can keep a full track. So we can see that she went to St. Mary's School, did rather well with her GCSEs. Trafford Sixth Form Academy did fairly well again with her A-levels and managed to get a first from Warwick. If Georgina had sort of done an MPhil in another university, we could have that information, as I say. So you've got a full track of history throughout time for the information for the student. Now, looking at the, so that was to cover off on the core data and some of the enhancements that are in this version of the system. Now, if we go to have a look at the actual student courses, what we have here is a list of student courses sorted by the actual course name, and I can, as you'd expect, export this to Excel. I can export this as a dynamic worksheet, which is something we'll explore in a minute or two with a pivot table. I can also export to an Excel template. So against here I've just set up a sample course template, and if I wish I can download that, and essentially I've then got the same information downloaded to a format that I've already pre-configured within Excel that will actually going to give me sorting by, in fact this works on by course code, by start date of the completion term, by contact ID. And in here you can see I've got Georgina Best with a D field, going to finish in Michaelmas 2020. And so what that means is you can have, if you have got standard formats that specific individuals require, you only need to configure the output spreadsheet once, and then you can continue to export the information, which will of course be updated dynamically. Now that's all very well, but from an academic user's perspective, typically they're only actually going to be interested in their own students. So if I shut that down and come back into another example. So we noted that George Hagel had 14 postgraduates, and here I have this spreadsheet configured so that it's only going to pick up his students. So he just has a snapshot then in front of him of what he considers to be key data related to his students specifically. So I can look here, I've got the terms to complete. George is only dealing with postgraduate students. The status logs of what's gone on. So here in this case we've got some information on suspension. And if I right click on that and show detail, I can see here that Samantha Bob had suspension requested on the 15th of the 7th, and it was granted in August this year. And if I click on here and follow up, then I can take the I can drill back into ERM and I can see the details of the suspension granting. So we've got effective date, I've got a note about the fact that it's going to be for MT 2017. So just able to go straight from spreadsheet back to a record in ERM. Equally, if I click on here, this time I can show the detail. And now if I go to Georgina's record, I can now click back into hers. So we've got dynamically output information going to Excel. We've got it pertinent to the user on the basis that all access to Microsoft CRM is authenticated centrally. So the system knows who's logged in and is able to record that information and so determine what to export. And we can give academics who one might wish to restrict fairly heavily any access actually within the system itself, the ability to see all the information that they actually need to see themselves. If we now go back here, I'll just shut that down. And we can do the same thing for Laura Goodbody. So Laura Goodbody only does undergraduates. So she's got a slightly different breakdown here because, excuse me, terms to complete, etc. is obviously completely irrelevant when it just comes to undergraduate students. But again, we've got the same thing here. We've got students by year of study. We've got the breakdown of Laura's students by the course that they're on and the next exams that they're going to be undertaking and the term that they're actually going to be undertaking them on. And as you would expect, we can click on second year students. If you recall, Daniel Andrews was a second year student and for whom Laura is the tutor. We click on show detail. This time we can click on here and take ourselves back into Daniel's record. So the ability to, as I say, the ability to dynamically export, maintain, can be enhanced by actually filtering so that academic individuals can only see what records are pertinent to themselves. Finally, we can do more. Not everything that's exported has to be filtered on an individual user basis. And here we have one more spreadsheet. So this is assigning college advisors to postgraduate students. You need to be able to know how many students you've assigned to each academic, and you need to know the students that are unassigned because they obviously need to be assigned. So here I've got my breakdown across the top. I've got my little graph. I've got my legend here on bit. Again, if I come in here, I can see that this is George Hagel. Now on this particular spreadsheet, I've actually chosen to do it slightly differently because I've actually got the detail record here within the spreadsheet. And here you can see that I can go down, see the individuals that are assigned to George, see the one student that's been assigned to Edward Gibbon, and then I have these 10 students. So these are the ones that I need to look at so that I can make sure that I've got things organized. Again, if I come in here and again from here I can draw back in. So I can use the spreadsheet to identify the records that I need. The spreadsheet is dynamically going to get updated. I can see that there's no connection record found here. So now if I go and do a connection, I can say that I'm going to connect to we'll connect to Edward Gibbon. as college advisor, and we'll do start term of Nicholas 2017, and we'll leave the end term because as a postgraduate we're never quite sure how long we're going to take. Save and close that. And now if I come back into my spreadsheet and I go refresh all, we can see now that Brenda is down there against Edward Gibbon. And if I go back into my summary and I refresh this, again, my unassigned has gone from 10 down to 2, 9, and my Edward Gibbon ones have gone up. So plenty of opportunities to provide customized spreadsheets that are interacting with CRM and giving you the ability to use the best of technology to achieve your job. So that's the Excel side of things. I think finally, what I just want to have a look at today is data protection. Now, the general data protection regulation is looming, and once that comes in, there is the potential, actually, in fact, that being able to easily remove information is likely to start to take on a level of importance as yet unrecognized, really, within many systems. So going back to my main menu here, if I skip across to development and I go in and have a look at my alumni, I've only got a couple of alumni. I go in here, though, you'll see that, and if I change the form again, you'll see here that Christian Barnard is Chinese, and I go into Gary Ringrose, you'll see that he's white Irish. What I can do now, while certain pieces of information after somebody graduates may well be retained for a period of time, such as their home address, needless to say, if they owe the college money, somebody's going to want to chase them. But certain pieces of information are likely to be expected to be removed pretty instantly. And one of those, I believe, is likely to be ethnicity. So what I can do is mark all the alumni. So I could have a query, if I had more than 2 alumni, I could have a query that was saved that brought me back anybody who was an alumni that had data in the ethnicity column. But when I select these 2 records, what I can do then is go and run if I get a response from my machine, which I'm not getting. I can come in here and I can run a workflow. So we've got a variety of different things. I'm just going to click on clear ethnicity. That's going to tell me what I'm going to do and warn me about whatever and ask me if I want to continue. And that will fire off in the background and hopefully quickly go through and remove, good, it has. So we can see Christian Barnard's ethnicity has gone, and so has Gary Ringmoses. So there what you have is the ability to just apply a mass workflow to a whole group of people who conform to a specific set of circumstances, and go in and clear down your data so that you're not actually breaking any data protection rules. So that's all I'm intending to touch on today. Thank you very much for attending. If you would like any further information, there's the email, the phone, and the web. Please let us know. Thank you very much for your time, and look forward to meeting you the next time. Cheers now.